Last year, the unexpected materialised twice. But after Brexit and Trump, populists are setting their sights on Europe, where there are plenty of dominoes at risk.
We don't want multiculturalism. We want Europe to be European.
If we don't have more Muslims in our country, we won't have this problem.
The far-right anti-Islam and anti-migrant rhetoric adds to its commitment to listen to people's concerns for inequality and unemployment.
Nous ne sommes pas des monstres, que nous ne sommes pas des diables, que l'on a eu tort de nous diaboliser.
And all this together is shaping a new, radical and frightening Europe. The European Union has been living its deepest identitarian crisis since its foundation. Many people feel disconnected with institutions that seem incapable of giving sustainable solutions to their daily grievances. And anti-establishment political parties that present themselves as the only viable alternative are gaining wider popularity.
We have to block Europe, that the Christian Europe has be a chance. If we can't stop it in the next 2 years, Europe, the nations of Europe, they will lose the folks, they will lose the future of Europe, and other races and the migration people will take over more and more power in Europe. Yes, of course, we are working together with my party, with other parties in Europe to connect us against the mass immigration in Europe. It's not only a German problem, but I think the problem started in Germany, and so we made a lot of demonstrations, rallies against refugees in Germany. And we also try to get connection with other European national parties to work together against the mass immigration.
Alliance for Peace and Freedom è un fatto nuovo perché prende piede dalla possibilità di creare dei partiti europei che hanno riconoscimento e anche strutturazione e finanziamento in Europa.
In 2016, the European Parliament decided to allocate some €600,000 to the Alliance for Peace and Freedom, led by Roberto Fiori and comprising of some extremist, fascist, neo-Nazi and Holocaust-denying parties.
Qui dentro il Parlamento europeo ufficialmente parliamo con tutti quelli che hanno le stesse idee con noi. Collaboriamo anche con i Jobbik, con ungheresi, con i vecchi amici dell'NPD tedesco, anche loro le pecore nere del Parlamento europeo. Fuori dal Parlamento abbiamo con tutte le realtà europee, cerchiamo un attimo di siamo l'esempio adesso. Tutti chiedono come l'Alba Dorata, un piccolo movimento, una piccola compagnia, è diventata quello.
There were European values. Our European civilization was developing from Babylon, Egypt, Israel, Christian, German, Greek, Roman, and so on. It was the best civilization in the world. It conquered all the world, in fact. It was the best civilization in the world. And then came the socialists, the Reds, who said that everything must be opposite. Not we are colonizing the rest of the world, but the rest of the world is now colonizing us. And moreover, I think the European Union must be destroyed. And, well, I'm doing my job.
Now, in the European Parliament, the MEPs from the more extremist parties have found the way forward of forming their own groupings within the Parliament. That's fine under Parliament rules and procedures and so on. But in order to keep them marginalised, the mainstream parties have formed a grand coalition. But it has a risk, because it actually feeds the populist narrative to their own electorate that we're marginalised, we're not included, we can't have our say, it's the fault of the institutions for excluding us, and if only we were really in power, we would really be able to change things.
At a moment that is historic for the European Union, because for the first time the European Union has to deal with a real opposition within the European Parliament. And this real opposition is growing from different sides, from several sides. The ECR, more or less, around the British Conservatives. Farage Group, which is quite famous after the Brexit, became quite famous. And then our group around the identity parties, the alternative parties.
Yes, we have founded ourselves a group, the INF, Vlaams Belang, Flemish Interest, FPÖ, the Austrian party, the PVV, the Dutch party, Front National and the Lega.
C'est le deuxième ou troisième grand tremblement de terre politique. Ça a été le Brexit. L'establishment n'avait pas vu venir le Brexit. Ensuite, il y a eu le référendum hongrois, qui a été, quoi qu'on en ait dit, un grand succès pour M. Orban. L'élection de M. Trump nous montre que tout est possible, et notamment, en France, l'élection de Mme Le Pen, si nous n'écoutons pas davantage le peuple. Le problème, c'est qu'il est un peu tard maintenant pour écouter le peuple, et que le peuple, lui, ne croit plus dans ses dirigeants traditionnels.
By trying to appear softer and more presentable to public opinion, the right-wing radical parties aim to destroy Europe from the inside.
In Hungary, because of the hardliner stance of Viktor Orban and his government, because of building the fence that worked pretty well to keep away the refugees from Hungary, and because of the harsh rhetoric that the government used against refugees, immigrants, labeling them as terrorists, criminals, and so on, most of the xenophobic voters could turn to the governmental side. It was a well-built strategy. Orban felt a political opportunity from the refugee crisis. Practically, Jobbik became a far-right party.
Here in Hungary, of course, this has historic reasons. I think Hungary and also Central European countries, they are much more inward-looking and probably much more conservative. We have a very different position on social structure. We don't believe in multiculturalism. Here in Hungary, we have lost from our supporters due to the migration crisis because Mr. Orban has taken our agenda and our program 99.9%. And it is, to be honest with you, with the migration issue, we have basically not managed to increase. He was a centrist politician in Hungary until last year, and since then he has shifted the Hungarian political center in the direction of Jobbik.
Senki nem mondta, hogy tökéletes megoldás, senki nem mondta, hogy nem lehet átvágni. Hogy az embercsempészek átvágják, megrongálják a kerítést, bejönnek, de lelassítja őket, ezért mindenkit el tudunk fogni.
The recipe here that many European political force uses is that if you don't look like as a fascist, as a neo-Nazi, the voters won't see you as them. For example, one of the vice presidents of the party is László Toroczkai, the mayor of Ásotthalom, who is the best known extremist in Hungary, who is leader and honorary leader of many practically paramilitary violent extremist organizations. This is what I would call the Nazis in suit.
Last year, László Toroczkai was elected as Jobbik's vice deputy, but that was just the last leg of a long-standing political career. In 2001, he established the 64 Counties Youth Movement, an ultra-nationalist group that fought for the rights of Hungarian minorities after 1920.
64 County Youth Movement, the HYM, is basically the kind of a founder of the 21st century Hungarian nationalist side. there are a lot of events which we established and started. One of the first was the Magyar Sziget, the Hungarian Island Festival, which was the first big Hungarian nationalist festival. And a lot of movements and the whole subculture of the nationalist subculture grew from that festival.
Az a probléma ezzel a kifejezéssel, tehát már önmagában az is megijeszti az átlagembert, hogyha arról beszél valaki, hogy ő fehér ember. Pedig ebben olyan borzasztóan kivetni való nincs, mert minden ember, amikor felkel és reggel a tükörben néz, konstatálja, hogy melyik rasszhoz tartozik.
Hitelesség és töretlenül csinálni, csak nem leállni. Minket a kommunisták basztattak. Most ugye, akiknek nem mondjuk jelenleg, ahogy ők csinálják, azt kell visszafordítani rájuk, másképp nem kell. Tehát másképpen kell harcolni, de ugyanúgy. Nem szabad engedni nem szabad meghajolni senkinek. Csinálni kell, ami itt van, azért vagyok a Földön, hogy én ezt csináljam. Nekem ez már meg. Én azért vagyok itt.
In 2013, Torokjai left the 64 counties movement and moved to Asztalon. Soon, he was elected as the new mayor, and after addressing the issue of the fence, he formed his militia of migrant hunters.
2014 májusában alapítottam, az én kezdeményezésemre alapítottuk kifejezetten az illegális migráció.
Nehéz okosnak lenni, amikor az ember találkozik egy csapattal mondjuk az erdőben. Nem lehet tudni, hogy éppen most egy fertőző beteg, agresszív, meg fog támadni, nem támad meg. Minden benne van abban. Konkrétan ugyanazt tudom elmondani, mint az előbb gyakorlatilag, amikor tudod, hogy valaki ott van az erdőben, és mondjuk nem egy-két ember, hanem egy csapat, viszonylag friss nyomon követed őket, és nem tudod, hogy kibe fogsz belefutni. Lehet bárki.
In 1989, most of the German people believed in building a strong, unified country, but fused the two halves together too quickly, and the West ended up absorbing the East. Eastern people have always been used to cultural and ethnic homogeneity, and, today, in the aftermath of the refugee crisis, still fear foreign interference. It is on these foundations that the anti-migrant and anti-Islam rhetoric of Pegida and the Alternative for Germany have grounded their roots.
Pegida, patriotic Europeans against the Islamization of Europe, to the streets the first time with 350 people, and then it's always get up. Biggest one was 38,500 3 months later. The main issues we are tackling now is now the government. They have to leave, they have to move. We have the next elections in autumn next year, and till that day we'll take the street every week and support the patriotic opposition in Germany. Right now it's the AfD.
Ja, es ist so, dass wir sehr gut vernetzt sind mit den patriotischen Bewegungen in Dresden. Also wir haben hier ein Riesenglück. Wir haben hier Pegida auf der Straße, die einmal die Woche fast alle patriotischen Bewegungen in Dresden bündelt.
Well, the relationship between AfD and Pegida is difficult in political terms, but really simple in analytic terms. From the very beginning, Pegidans claimed that they would vote for the AfD. So it could be seen that the programs, the basic feelings, the basic convictions of those who were going to the AfD were quite the same, which were shared by those who went to Pegida demonstrations. Pegida, so to speak, has something been like a forerunner for right-wing populism in Germany, because due to its historical experiences, Germany was always declining towards right-wing populism and towards right-wing political parties. Therefore, it was for a long while, Germany was for a long while kind of a white spot on the map of European right-wing populism.
I think first the AfD was an anti-Euro party, an anti-Euro movement. Then came a split inside the party. There was an opportunity of the far right to take over the party, led by Höcke, Gauland and others. They infiltrated the party. Now the situation is there is no need to be moderate anymore. Facebook and also the public spaces, it's so common to slash against foreigners, against Islam, against terrorists. That means there is no need to be politically correct anymore.
Und es ist ja ganz einfach, wenn Sie 80 Millionen Deutsche haben, auch viele mit schon Migrationshintergrund, ja auch aus früheren Einwanderungswellen, und es kommen 1 Million Moslems dazu und nächstes Jahr wieder eine und nächstes Jahr wieder eine, wenn das also so weiterginge, dann verändert sich die Zusammensetzung des deutschen Volkes und damit auch seine Identität.
Und dass wir erwarten, dass diejenigen, die zu uns kommen, genau diesen Wertekanon akzeptieren, und zwar bedingungslos. Diese Akzeptanz und diese Integration gelingt interessanterweise mit Bürgern aus dem hinduistischen oder buddhistischen Kulturkreis mehr oder weniger problemlos. Das haben wir an den vielen Vietnamesen gesehen, also an den vielen Chinesen, die sich hier hervorragend integrieren. Das funktioniert aber eben nicht mit Muslimen. Diese Religion basiert auf völlig anderen Wertmaßstäben, die mit unseren nicht kompatibel sind. Das ist sozusagen ein Kulturkampf, der hier beginnt, den wir in diversen Ausprägungen haben. Man sagt Islamisierung, deswegen geht ja auch Pegida auf die Straße.
The New Right fights against multiculturalism and globalization, and whilst it strongly opposes the state and its organs, has created its own gatekeepers of untruth and misinformation. Götz Kubitschek is one of its most influential theorists.
Die Basis letztlich, auf die das zunächst führen muss, eine Kulturrevolution, ist ganz klar, also relative Homogenität in einem Volk und dann ein sehr, sehr sorgsamer Umgang bei dieser Masse Mensch, die wir haben, mit den Ressourcen, mit dem Volksvermögen, mit all dem, was die Zukunft der nächsten Generationen sichert. Es gibt eine emotionale Barriere nach rechts. Diese Barriere wird abgetragen, die wird immer niedriger. Dazu tragen Trump, Brexit und so weiter bei. Und ich glaube, dass es stark auf Deutschland ankommt, weil bei uns die Dinge sehr, sehr ernst genommen werden.
terrorism, Islam and mass migration, radical Catholicism and traditional family, anti-elitism, anti-establishment and Euroscepticism in all its forms. This is the National Front, today France's leading political force, with more than 30% consent.
Contre la droite du fric et la gauche du fric, je suis la candidate de la France du peuple.
This result is due both to Marine Le Pen's strategy of putting a friendly face on her party's radicalisation and the regional elections of 2015. Back then, in southern France and in Nice, the FN won 48% of the vote, thanks to the support of the racist and xenophobic identitarian movement.
Beaucoup de rencontres, surtout depuis ici à Nice. Il y a eu beaucoup de rencontres après les attentats, c'est certain. Ça a donné une dynamique supplémentaire au mouvement. Les premières productions qu'on a faites, ce sont des fiches argumentatives, notamment autour de la question des attentats islamistes. L'objectif, c'est de mettre à la disposition des cadres identitaires, mais aussi de tous les hommes politiques de droite ou du Front National qui seraient intéressés à pouvoir argumenter avec des arguments solides.
Les dirigeants identitaires se sont dit la stratégie la plus intéressante, c'est finalement que les mieux formés d'entre nous essayent de faire carrière au sein du Front National. Le niveau de diplôme est fondamental pour savoir qui parmi les jeunes accepte de voter FN ou non. Plus on est diplômé, moins on vote pour le Front National. Et le FN, à un moment donné, a jugé qu'il était nécessaire, pour son image, mais aussi pour des raisons, encore une fois, de durabilité politique, d'attirer des jeunes qui avaient une formation, qui avaient un bagage, qui étaient un vivier potentiel de candidats.
Avec l'arrivée de Marine Le Pen à la tête du Front National, elle a su en fait rassembler tous les mouvements patriotes au-delà des petits particularismes locaux. Et la situation actuelle est telle que tout naturellement, on a été plusieurs à vouloir agir électoralement au sein du Front National. Et c'est la raison pour laquelle j'ai rejoint le Front maintenant il y a 3 ans. Et au fur et à mesure, on a pris certaines responsabilités au niveau local, puisque comme vous l'avez aussi souligné, j'ai eu des responsabilités au niveau de la Brigade Sud, qui sont les supporters de foot à Nice. Et puis j'ai créé une librairie depuis maintenant plus de 15 ans. Donc je suis malgré tout un acteur culturel et politique de Nice depuis maintenant presque 30 ans.
Soit on a une culture vraiment à proprement dite, surtout dans notre pays. Je pense qu'on est vraiment une ville à part. On a notre langue, on a notre culture, on a notre cuisine.
C'est une reconquête intellectuelle, une reconquête de territoire, une reconquête politique. On est là, nous sommes là. On ne reculera plus désormais. Et si vous voulez nous envahir, on vous attend.
Marine Le Pen vise le pouvoir. Quand vous visez le pouvoir dans le système républicain actuel, vous êtes obligé de caresser l'opinion publique. Certains discours, certains comportements peuvent paraître comme étant fascistes, comme étant très fondamentalistes, et pour pouvoir arriver au pouvoir, il ne faut pas avoir ces clichés.
C'est sa personnalité, elle est une femme, elle est tenace, elle est courageuse, elle met en avant effectivement, elle donne des responsabilités aux jeunes. Mais c'est une volonté claire de rajeunir le mouvement politique et de renouveler le personnel politique.
The National Front is led by the Le Pen family. Together with Marine and her reactionary father and party founder Jean-Marie, there's Marion Marchal. She draws the votes of the Catholics and the pro-family Manif pour tous.
On a vécu les manifs pour tous, c'est vraiment notre mai 68. Les manifs pour tous et les manifs anti-mariage gay, pour la famille. Actuellement, le Front National a une position qui est une pole position, je dirais même, dans la sphère politique française, puisque c'est le premier parti de France. Ils sont pour l'abrogation de la loi Taubira, donc du mariage homosexuel. Ils sont pour la sortie de l'Union européenne et ils sont contre l'immigration massive. Là-dessus, on les rejoint. Pour nous, c'est des sujets urgents.
contre l'avortement, nous sommes contre l'euthanasie, nous sommes contre la gestation pour autrui, la procréation médicalement assistée. Nous affirmons nos valeurs, nous affirmons que nous sommes foncièrement patriotes, intégralement catholiques, radicalement anti-système. Nous voulons une société ordonnée, hiérarchisée. Ça veut dire aussi que nous défendons une vision civilisationnelle qui soit chrétienne, avec notamment donc un refus de l'immigration.
Nous avons notre identité, nous sommes français par les racines, par la culture, par la religion, nous sommes chrétiens. Tout cela qui fait notre identité à l'heure actuelle.
Saw in France the identitarian movement with the great action, the great style, and in fact their ideas that were representing everything we stood for, ethnopluralism and respecting others, defending your own. And then we decided to take the CI, take their logo, and follow them. But there's only a decision between two youth movements. Either Europe will have an identitarian or patriotic youth movement, or the next youth movement in Europe will be jihadism.
The identitarians, you cannot pin them down when you see them first. It's not like they're not saying we're right-wing extremists. They have a much cooler and softer appearance. So they distance themselves from racism, at least they appear like they do. And at the same time say being identitarian is not about being racist, which in the end it is, but it's a new word, it's a better word, it's a fresher word. The main figure, Martin Sellner, has a background in the neo-Nazi scene in Austria. He was very close to the most well-known neo-Nazi in Austria, Gottfried Küssel.
If you look at the higher ranks, the leading circles of the identitarians in Austria, almost all of them stem from a fraternity background, are members in fraternities. Like Martin Sellner. Burschenschaften, particularly in Austria, were very important in paving the way for National Socialism. On one hand, because of their fierce anti-Semitism, and on the other hand, because their desire to build a greater Germany. And this has led them also to support the Nazis at a very early stage, starting in the early 1930s. And several Burschenschaften had very important positions in the NS regime.
Among the Austrian student fraternities, the Burschenschaften, or BB, stand out for two distinguishing features. Firstly, they rely on their Germanic roots and strongly promote the Germanic culture, history, and identity. And secondly, they are highly politicized. As a matter of fact, they play a major role inside the far-right Freedom Party, or FPO.
I have nothing against the Jews, and I don't have anything about immigrants as far as they adapt themselves. So, I mean, why should I be a neo-Nazi? I'm German national because I want to keep my culture. That's really important for me, for us, for the whole fraternity, for the whole Wiener Kooperationsring.
Und genau da wollen wir ansetzen. Wir wollen die Österreicher in den Vordergrund stellen, wir wollen die Österreicher im Arbeitsmarkt im Vordergrund stellen. Das ist auch mein Ziel als junger Mensch, dass unsere Werte, unsere Kultur und unsere Menschen wieder im Vordergrund stehen und nicht Personen, die eigentlich nicht hierher gehören, unsere Kultur missachten und unsere Kultur schänden.
The fraternities have always been a breeding ground for personnel for the Freedom Party, particularly for high positions that require academic education. And whenever in its history the party has steered to the right, fraternity influence was big, and fraternities played a key role in preventing the Freedom Party from being transformed into a liberal party, which it never was.
Today, most BB members are aligned with the FPO, and 19 out of 35 Federal Party board members belong to fraternities. At the elections last December, Greens-backed candidate Alexander Van der Bellen narrowly won against Norbert Hofer from the far-right and anti-immigration Freedom Party.
If you look at the analysis of the voters of last Sunday, you will see that basic distribution is very similar to the Brexit vote or the Trump vote. So the people from rural areas generally prefer to vote for Hofer. The people who are less educated, what is quite clear is that areas that are economically more deprived, that are sort of losing out from globalization, areas where there is a kind of fear of migration, tend to vote for FPÖ.
There is a good chance we will win the next elections. So everyone who voted for Hofer made a first step to vote in some way for FPÖ. Yes, they are important, the fraternities. It's long tradition in our party. And to discredit the party, it's very good to link everything that has to do with the party to something really bad. And so the best thing is National Socialism.
That they say, oh, we are the ones who represent the people, we are anti-establishment, we're the real Austrians, we are like the nice guys from Austria. We are not the snobbish establishment, we are the ones who are here for the people. That's, they call it, we are the new People's Party. And Europe should be really worried, and not only about Austria, but also about what's happening in France. Also what will be happening in Germany. I mean, Mr. Van der Bellen won yesterday at the elections, but still nearly every second voter gave his vote to a candidate from the extreme right. That's a lot.
Every month, the Slovak levies meet for their armed trainings. Tight in their military fatigues and holding their weapons in hand, they gather in the city centre and march to the woods nearby. This voluntary movement counts up to 250 people that are keen on learning how to defend themselves in case of war or crisis.
Žiadna zmluva, nejaká mierová dohoda, každá z tých dohod je len na papieri, papier toho znesie veľa. A zo nariadenia sa to môže porušiť. Okrem toho sú to aj iné hrozby, momentálne tu hrozia rôzne teroristické útoky zo zahraničia, teraz máme tu hrozbu toho ISISu a podobne. Každá hrozba môže byť menšia, väčšia, časom môže prerásť, môže vzniknúť nová, je to úplne jedno. Okrem iného my necvičíme len na boj, ale cvičíme aj na reakciu v rámci nejakej rôznej krízovej situácie, čo môžu byť rôzne biologické pohromy, katastrofy, môže dojsť nejakému úniku nejakých látok. My máme v našom výcvikom programe zahrnutý výcvik aj protichemickej ochrany, takže naši ľudia sú schopní pomáhať aj v takýchto prípadoch.
Keď sme chceli zakladať domobranu na Slovensku, tak som mal 16 rokov a potrebovali sme získať skúsenosti a vedomosti. Kto sa nám ohlásili tedy, tak boli práve jedna ruská organizácia Stiak, ktorí nám sa ponúkli, že nám poskytnú bezplatný výcvik.
How it is actually possible that we have such a paramilitary group operating in Slovakia. Švrček was trained by Russians in Russia. Then he decided to set up Slovenskí branci, and a couple of years later, one of them, and there are rumors that he's not the only one, of members of Slovenskí branci decides to join pro-Russian separatists fighting in Ukraine. in military terms, they are insignificant. They are just really toy soldiers. That's it. Also, it creates a kind of a brotherhood spirit. They are a bunch of guys, spending their time in the woods, doing physical exercise, doing more martial arts, and so on. For young people, this is a very, very strong incentive to join them. And then it's very easy, just to indoctrinate them in certain views and attitudes.
Z také trošku inakšieho hľadiska boli sme nasadení teraz prednedávnom prvýkrát. Nebolo to v rámci cvičenia, bolo to teda osveda nasadenia a to bolo kvôli tomu, čo sa stalo v Piešťanoch. Neviem, či o tom viete, ale médiá písali zrazu, že tam nejaký Arab napadol nejakú ženu a aj toho vedúceho podniku mu rozbili žbal na hlavu a tak ďalej. Tak.
Snažíme sa ľuďom vštepovať nejakú politickú ideológiu, robíme to apoliticky. A je to vlastne na Slovensku len o tom vlastenectve. Tie hodnoty pokladáme na boj proti fašizmu a vlastne zakladáme, alebo taký historický odkaz, ktorý tu udržujeme, je práve boj jednotiek SNP, kde naši predkovia, dedovia, môj dedo osobne hrdinsky bojovali.
Are not pro-democracy EU-based values. That's very clear. They paid tribute to, let's say, heroes of Slovak national uprising. So they try to position themselves as, we are the true Slovak patriots, but we are no extremists, no, fascists or neo-Nazis.
In Slovakia exists a much more extreme and dangerous paramilitary movement than Slovenský branči.
This is the Marian Magat Facebook page. He is unofficial leader of Vzdor Kisúce. In his Facebook page you can see various anti-Semitic posts. I think this speech can be classified like hate speech. In Slovakia it's criminal. Magat was candidate on Kotleba's party to parliament in election in 2016 with number 88, which is code for Heil Hitler.
Last year, this right-wing radical party won 8% of the vote in the Slovak parliament.
The program of our party is that we want to leave the European Union, and the European Union is something like NATO from our point of view, that the European Union is destroying Slovak economics. They are taking jobs from Slovakia, they are taking money from Slovakia, and now at the last, they want for Slovakia to take immigrants, and if we not accept this immigration quota, they wanted to give us the fines, they want to cut us the Euro Foundation and other things. Young people are really upset of that and say the People's Party of Slovakia is our only hope.
A liberal leadership guided Poland during its first decade in the European Union, but the victory of the Law and Justice Party entailed a conservative turn. Catholicism has always held a unique position in Poland, but today the government and the church have a mutual interest in shifting the country towards a nationalist, authoritarian and Eurosceptic direction. The militarization of society is part of this new law and order program.
We are supporting this idea of building territorial defense. We think that our nation should be keen on weapons, keen on fighting. We say about militarizing the society. So having military teaching in schools, having this territorial defense, of course having a regular army that can fight. That's also our idea.
Si vis pacem, arabellum. If you want to have a peace, you must prepare you to the war. Bo Polska była zawsze zagrożona. Pod koniec XVIII wieku straciliśmy niepodległość. Nie było Polski przez 123 lata, a potem też były krótkie okresy niepodległości. Albo byli Niemcy, albo byli Rosjanie, no i tyle. No. Polska przez 1000 lat właściwie dwóch wrogów, jakich miała, których się musiała bać.
I nie jest to nic nowego. No, w tradycjach rycerskich czy szlacheckich każdy młody chłopiec po osiągnięciu pewnego wieku był wychowywany przez ojca i ojciec uczył go sztuki wojennej, ojciec uczył go polowania, ojciec uczył go wojaczki.
To jest na pewno odpowiedzialność, ponieważ przez noszenie munduru możemy wyrazić swój szacunek i po szkole zamierzam wybrać się do policji, potem w policji już będąc studiować coś zaocznie i będę się starał dołączyć do któregoś z pododdziałów antyterrorystycznych.
There have been some cases when members of the far-right groups have been involved in paramilitary activities. Now it is an open question whether or not the National Radical Camp will be allowed to take part in paramilitary activities organized by the state.
It is extremely important because they count on the tradition. This is the part of their ideology, far-right ideology. It talks about not only the fear and reject of the ethnic minorities, but it talks mostly about the Polish tradition, Polish history, Polish patriotism.
I think this territorial defense will be a benefit for the future, and I hope that the Minister of Defense will build it very soon. Especially in the time when we are struggling with the terrorist threat, such organizations, such territorial defense groups should arrive. Many men from these right-winged organizations are very keen on joining these territorial defense forces. I think it's a good way to put their patriotic exaltation, their patriotic feelings into something practical, into something that would really help to build our self-defense in the future.
It was the ultra-nationalist youth movements, the New Radical Camp, and all Polish youth to hold the first independence march on the 11th of November 2009. These right-wing radicals have been accused of hijacking Polish Independence Day and using patriotism to conceal their otherwise extremist actions. The Independence March began with 500 people and last year numbered over 75,000.
You will see that the personification of Polish identity on Independence March. The core of our ideology is the care for our nation. It's like we want to work for the nation, we want to improve being of our friends, of our families, and of our nation itself. And our core values are those that we have on our flags, on our t-shirts, on our transparents. It's God, honor, and fatherland. God is important, and it's in fact the first of our values, because we think and we know that Christianity is the only true religion, and it's the only way to salvation.
There is a link between far-right ideology and the Catholic religion. In these postmodern societies, in these lost societies, the religion is one certain thing that should be on the basis of the one's identity.
La Chiesa è così, cioè
La nazione polacca vuol dire una nazione cattolica che combatte da secoli con i nemici che vengono per distruggere l'identità polacca, vuol dire cattolica.
Poland for Polish and Polish for Poland. And we want to express by this that we believe the mass immigration that happens now in Europe is very harmful, is very dangerous for Poland. Polish people doesn't want this immigration, and we are standing firmly against it, and we won't let any Polish government to let this million or maybe thousands of people get to our country.
This cross in Slovakia is, I know it, yes. It's, a lot of people consider it as so. As a fascist symbol, they consider that.
Why do I say about biology and demographic issues? Because if we won't put an effort to those topics, our successes, our victories, will be only for a small period of time. We have to reverse some things that are going on. We have to reverse it. So not only stopping, not only winning this or that elections is important for us.
The sun is rising from the east, and you as Polish people, you as a national Christian avant-garde, you have a particular task in your hands. Your people has a chance, together with other people of Europe, to be really the avant-garde in the liberation of this great European civilization. History is moving very fast, and we have got to ride history. Thank you.
Over history, we can see many times in which parties that put forward a rather extreme view of nationalism have done well in electoral politics in many countries in Europe. What's different now is the scale of it, that they're attracting many more voters than they used to, and also how much, ironically, this kind of nationalism is becoming very transnational.
Altogether, the populist parties in Europe have a share of the vote which is 16.5%, which is not much, ultimately. It's not huge. And the mainstream parties are still in charge pretty much everywhere. But the influence on these parties is much, much greater than their share of the vote, because they're setting the agenda. And most mainstream politicians basically are very much afraid of this competition and tend to turn very nationalist and anti-European themselves, because it's easy, basically. So you have basically nobody who is still defending the traditional liberal values and the European Union. They're all, or many of them are becoming populists themselves.
The coming elections look like the real test for European right-wing populism, as the wolves who have disguised themselves in sheep's clothing are not only amongst us, but have already successfully penetrated our everyday lives. As hard as it may sound, Europe, welcome to your new, frightening normal.
Everybody, Donald Trump.